You will likely have many meetings with your advisor throughout the course of your time at CGU. Since both you and your advisor are busy people, you want to make sure you make the best use of the time you have. Following are some tips on how to effectively prepare for meetings with your advisor.
When you're preparing for your advisor, the more thought that you have given to what you're looking for, the type of career you want to have, what you want to get out of grad school, the more your advisor can help you. If I meet with a student and they're very uncertain about things and haven't given things thought, that's just going to require a second meeting, which is fine. I enjoy meeting with my advisee. But the more forethought you can give, the better. Come in with a list of questions. You will forget otherwise. You will walk out of there and go, oh, I forgot this. And often it's the most important question. Also, by having a list of questions and thoughts, you won't be thrown off by what your advisor is saying. Sometimes your advisor may say some things, you get very focused on it, and then either the question completely leaves your mind, or something that troubled you, you just don't want to bring up. So if you have it written down, you're more likely to remember to say that to your advisor. And that will allow you to make the absolute most out of every meeting and will just increase the likelihood that your advisor is looking forward to the next one.
Well, they should be able to say why they're in the program and what their objectives are, and if possible, what their timetable might be. You know, if I'm going to be a part-time student, if I'm going to do full-time student, and what you want to do. And I mean, I was just talking to somebody who's new and coming in, like, are you doing summer school? Are you doing this? And, you know, and what kinds of things. So I can get a sense of, you know, what your expectations are and what your area of emphasis might be if you know that already. You know, and sometimes people don't, like, I have an incoming student now, and I've been talking to her, she's not here yet, and, you know, about concentration. And, you know, she doesn't really, she just like women's studies, but no, that's the field, but you got to have a concentration within it. So it's just working those kinds of things out.
Give a little thought beforehand about why are you coming? What is it that you want out of this? I mean, it doesn't have to be a long list, point 1 through 10, but give some thought so that the time that we spend together can be most productive.
The best meetings that I have, there's an agenda that has been sent out to the advisor beforehand with a specific list of topics and what needs to be answered and what needs to be accomplished during that meeting. I find that students that do that, it's very, very helpful. Because sometimes as part of the conversation, you may forget about certain items or certain questions that you had for your advisor. But if you have it written out in the email as part of the conversation around the scheduling of when the meeting is going to happen, if you send out an agenda, it's very, very helpful for both parties, and it tends to be a lot more productive.
Plan meeting ahead of time. You're very busy. You really cannot email me, say, can I meet you tomorrow? That will never happen, right? So usually try to set up with your advisor, have a regular meeting, catch up. It can be every 2 weeks, once a month. But if you have regular meeting to update, that usually help you to move forward. Then very good, you know, before the meeting, send on the documents a few days before, say, you know, this is what I want to discuss, this is my progress. I think those are like 3 most important things they should get prepared.
Come with questions, because everybody has different questions about the program. Sometimes they don't remember something from orientation. They've heard stuff from other students that might not necessarily be totally correct, because the program requirements do change sometimes academic year to academic year. We always revise. I would also tell students to always look at their accounts before coming to, if they have holds, and knowing all that information so I can help guide them and we can have a smooth transition so they can register.
One way to best prepare for the meeting with the advisor is to try to think about what in particular you would like to learn from the interaction. And that doesn't always have to be something specific. So sometimes you might want to learn something very particular, like, is this a good class? Or could I take that class instead? Right, there are things like that. But also, the advisor is available to move beyond a sort of what we might think of as a strict or narrow advising role to more of a mentoring role. And they can tell you things about the profession or about looking for a job or about thinking about jobs or other things that can help you advance as you move forward and as you eventually graduate and go on into a career. And so it may be that you would like to ask them about some of those things as well. Maybe there are things that you don't really understand about how conferences work or how the job market works. It's quite different. The academic job market is very different from other kinds of job markets. And so you can also just have general questions that you would like to begin exploring and learning from the advisor. It doesn't always have to be about like what specific class or am I meeting my units.
In terms of coursework or requirements, that part's pretty simple. So it's really a matter of the individual artist figuring out what kind of artist they are and what kind of world they want to inhabit. A lot of times people say the art world as if it's this one singular thing. It wasn't a singular thing when I entered it in the late 80s, and it's even more fragmented and dispersed and filled with more possibility and different options than ever before. So part of it is like, trying to envision the future and where you want to be in the future, and then making that future happen step by step, week by week.
Sometimes students get overwhelmed with their work, with their professional commitments, with their personal commitments, and they, aside from showing up to class, drop off the radar, if you will. And what I always tell them when I encounter them or when I identify that that's happening, I always say, tomorrow is a new day. Now is the time for you to start anew. Reach out to that person, whether it's a faculty mentor or an academic advisor, and set up a time to talk. There's always opportunities to start again. And sometimes the hardest thing is to start. Inertia can just be paralyzing. So the hardest thing is just to push past. And once that email is sent, then things will flow again and you have momentum in your favor.